Hi, this is Range. I'm a modder. I make mods for Civilization 5, and this is kind of a modder plays own Civ mod. And today we're going to be looking at Kowloon of the Shan States, which is a part of Burma, and go over some of their bonuses as well as like some strategies and some of the context behind it. This video mainly serves as a way for me to deposit a bunch of the research that I did for the mod, because some of it is in the wiki, but not all of it is, and I kind of want to put it in one place for anybody who cares enough about the Shan people. So, first off, the Shan people are also known as the Thai people, but that is also confused with the Thai people in the south over here. So the Thai people mainly exist in this northeastern part of Burma. This is just the map of the actual Thai Principality period, where the Confederated Shan States took over a bunch of Burma for like 20 years or so. Shan is actually a name given to them by the Burmese, and that's also where Siam comes from, or potentially where Siam comes from. So some people don't like being called Shan, but also modern Thai people, or the Thai people who live up here, have kind of adopted Shan because people have been calling that, and they want to differentiate themselves from the Thai people to the south. In any case, I'm lingering on here a little bit because this map doesn't really appear anywhere else, and I just want to point out that with this map, I try to go for a little bit more of a cloth texture because there's a lot of cloth stuff that comes out of the Shan States. And I also went for this largest period of existence rather than necessarily a big blob culture mod, because arguably Tsenwi over here is one of the more important centers of Shan culture, but it's not so much in here because they were never part of this confederation. Anyway, Kowloon is from Mungyang, which is this city over here, and if you played EU4, you probably might know of it. If you play in Southeast Asia, there is a tag called Mungyang. This is actually Salon II, but not enough people. He's known more at Salon. It's just that he has a father or some other figure before him that was also named Kowloon. I think it's pronounced Kowloon in Shan, but I can't speak Shan, and I am vaguely reading this as it is, and not reverting to the Burmese Salon. Okay, well, let's get it started.
Great Lord of the Sky, King of the Lords of the Sunset, Cao Pa Kowloon of Mungyang. The Thai people are proud descendants of Kunlun and Kunlai, who have flourished in the many lush valleys of Southeast Asia since time immemorial. Its many hills are home to the luscious Salween River valleys, through which the envy of the world's riches pass through. Its many Hmongs host mighty Cao who reside in mighty halls of the many noble princes of the purest hearts and minds. Pushed out.
Okay, sorry. I'm just gonna end that because it takes a long time, and I think this video would be really long with that. But you can always go and download the mod and play it the entire Dawn of Man screen for yourself. Now, looking at this, I think this is actually a good start. So we want a lot of hills because of our unique tile improvement, which I'll get to in a bit. So I'm going to settle the city of Mungyang and go over a few things. So as you can see, I've made most of the text in-game Shan, just to keep them separate from the Thai people. Okay. I could have moved down here, but it wasn't worth the one turn. I could have also restarted, but then it would be a little annoying. Okay, scout. Alright, so the Shan people are kind of a subgroup of the Thai people, and I think that generally you could say that the Thai people are an ethnicity, or they were an ethnicity, but now they're kind of divided up in all of these post-colonial states to the point that they identify differently. So Thai people in the south in Thailand, there's Lao people in the east, there's Thai or Shan in Burma, and then to the northwest there's a lot of Thai Ahom, which are in Assam. they're more of a minority in Assam. But so there's a lot of Shan people, and they used to inhabit more of the area, I would say, especially to the north of Burma, in what is now today. That is good.
Thou shalt not
That is
muzzle the
very
ox.
good. In what is now called Kachin State. So Mungyang is actually not in the Shan State, i.e., the subdivision of Myanmar today that is called the Shan State, where a lot of Shan people live. Mungyang is actually in the north, in Kachin State, which is a separate ethnicity, but Mungyang is still kind of Shan. It's known in Burmese as Monyin, and so the leader is called Monyin Salon, which means Saolun of Mungyang. Apologies for my pronunciation. I'm not very good at pronouncing things. But I went with Mungyang because I kind of wanted to have the focus be on a certain time period rather than the culture as a whole, because that's kind of what I had been doing for Burma. But I think in retrospect I shouldn't have, just because it would make more sense for the capital to be Tsanui, which is the second city, I think. Hopefully. I can't remember exactly what the second city is, but the playstyle that I was going for with Mungyang is very much based on this history of having a lot of let's get writing. Having a lot of these disparate groups of people in the many valleys. And I wanted to go for wide, but also wide and very small cities. And that's hopefully what I can do in this map. Looks like there's a little contestation with Antwerp for land. But essentially, that's the general idea that we're going for. So, the Shan State. Let's first talk about that icon. So that is an icon of someone dancing with peacock feathers, or not peacock feathers, but a peacock-like dance in the back, which the garments on them are not feathers, but they're just kind of fabric clothes, and this is just one of the many dances that they have. Another common symbol that they use is a long drum, but it doesn't fit that well with the proportion of it being specifically a very long drum. So I went with this instead. I could have also gone. Another common symbol is just the flag of the Shan State, but that doesn't really work as an icon. As for the colors, the gray, the yellow-brown color comes from the cloth that they wear. A lot of Shan clothes, or like the stereotypical Shan traditional clothes. Do we need a religion? No. Why not? The Shan cloth that they have is often this nice, like, muted yellow color. And it kind of reflects one of the colors that they use on their flag, which is bright yellow. And the pink is also something that shows up in their dress. So I took a lot of stuff from their clothing, or their traditional clothing, which is why the map was also a little bit based on that. And yeah, so beyond that, we can talk about the unique ability a little bit. Nice. That's very useful, because this civ is, in fact, a diplomatic civ. So, Taolun's unique ability is Valious Princess, which means that trade posts and Hmongs provide +1 gold and +1 culture for every road and trade route passing over it. That is not the strongest unique ability, but it is very, very abusable in single player, and that's kind of something I personally like. I took Liberty, so I can build a lot of cities, by the way. So, which we'll get to when we talk about the unique building. Oh, nice. I'm gonna definitely settle this very quickly, but I should probably get optics in that case. So Kowloon and the Shan people in general live in the mountainous areas. So because I wasn't going for the
He
Thai
who
as a
destroys a
whole.
good book kills.
Oh, actually, I forgot. Let's turn up the audio. Oh, it's gone past it. Well, you'll you'll hear you'll hear more of the audio sound when we do the second episode, because I'll reload the game and you'll hear the peace music, which is a flute sound from the Shan places. Okay, so the because I wasn't going for the entirety of the Shan people, I kind of focused a lot more on the Shan people within Burma, and especially within the Shan State and southern Kachin State area. So from Mengyang to Yangwei, or Yangshui and Monyin. So one of the things that make them really interesting was the valleys that how many different kingdoms and princes they had. So a bit of a context is the idea of the Mandala state, which is in ancient Southeast Asia, or like pre-modern Southeast Asia more accurately. The idea was kind of like Civ when you play multiplayer, in that you don't really control land. You control an area around a city. So if you were playing a one city challenge, and and even though, like, say for example here, I don't own this tile. If enemy players were to settle there, I would get mad because that's my land, even though I haven't claimed it, just because it's close to my capital and because I think my capital is better than his capital. Uh, so the idea of the Mandala state was that states were defined by cities, and of course this manifested in things like the Burmese kingdoms having the big glorious capital cities and claiming other places, or Ayutthaya having lots and lots of people and things like that. But it also manifested at the smaller level, at the regional level, where a lot of these smaller kingdoms or smaller cities or smaller states pretended that they controlled a lot of places, or that they controlled the places around them. So, for example, a tiny town, let's say, I don't know, even though, let's say, what's a good US example? Let's say the city of Greenwich, Connecticut, right? So Greenwich, Connecticut is very close to New York City, but it's basically a suburb of New York City, even though it's in a different state. But I would say like the people around that area might look towards it, but it really, there's this kind of overlapping layers of tributary, but it was also considered ownership or things along that lines. Well, basically, a lot of these small cities around the Shan State, they claim to at least be uh, rightful rulers as well, rulers of the sky, or great lords of the sky, Cao Pa, and to demand tribute or demand or pretend like they rule the local area around them and create themselves lots of these tiny little states. So in some way, you could think of it as the Shan State being a bunch of the Holy Roman Empire of Burma, where you have a lot of these tiny states who kind of pretend to be independent, but they're really not independent. Also, they kind of are. It's kind of confusing. It doesn't really fit in with how we think about states today, but it does definitely make for an interesting backbone for modding. And so my question was, how do I represent that? And I think the main part of this is the unique improvement, the Hmong, which is just a city. it can be built on hills, and you'll see this later in the game, where I just build it everywhere on every single hill, and those are kind of like their own separate cities. Since they're their own kind of cities, and the cities within themselves kind of have this range around them.
So teach us to number.
And getting roads and connecting them up like normal cities gives you what you want. Work. Oh well. Well, let's get philosophy soon. Okay, so what was it I was talking about? Oh yeah, Mungyang and the leader. Okay, so Salum of Mungyang was a military leader, and I didn't really represent him at all in the unique too much, except in the capital. I think that's because the majority of the time they have been they are fierce and warrior like, or they're very good at fighting. In fact, a lot of Burmese wars were fought with Shan soldiers after conquering them, of course. But that wasn't what I wanted to go for necessarily with the mod. I kind of wanted to convey this decentralized sense of having lots and lots of cities and having lots and lots of tiny little cities you're connecting up, or villages that you're connecting up. And so one of the main things that I went for is to the unique ability just really builds on the other two, and the Valley of Princes kind of just refers to the idea of there being lots and lots of princes everywhere, similar to the Holy Roman Empire, but they weren't really called prince, they were called Tsao, which is more like ruler or king than anything, or it's kind of become more of an honorary title. I'm not too much of an expert, but I'm gonna settle 3 cities soon, relatively soon. I think this is actually a good spot because I want Serdiposi, but I do want a link up. So I'm gonna settle here, even though it's not the best city spot. And I'm gonna settle here and then settle here just because I can. Although actually I should send this worker to go up. Right, so the unique building and unique improvements. I kind of want to talk about them later, but I guess I need to talk about them now. So we can go over some of it more when we get back to getting them, but the unique improvement is the backbone of the civilization, as I've kind of said too many times now. However, I think there's also definitely some room to say that you don't have to play wide, but because the bonuses will still be kind of powerful if you have a few cities and you have the trade routes going over them. The main thing is that as a player you can more smartly choose your city spots and choose where you place your cities, and get a lot of this, a lot of the gold and culture in the late game to get to city states with. Oh, okay. So the second city is Sipa. It's not Senwi, which is kind of the core of all of this. But let's start with monument. I think we are isolated in our own continent, which is good, but we should get some some cities going soon. And I think I'll come back in a bit when I have research philosophy and all to talk about the rest of them, honestly.